Do you want to know what to say when teens push back on rules or identity? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about knowing what to say. In this video, we're going to talk about what the teens are really saying when they're giving you some of that pushback and some of the behavior problems that can come from that. And then we're going to talk about what you can do and what you can say to hopefully switch things into a new direction. So what do the teens usually say when they're giving you pushback? I mean, it could be all kinds of things, but one of the biggest things that they might say is, "You don't trust me." Do you see my body language when I did that? It was like, I'm coming at you, because that's what they say. They feel offended. They feel a little bit aggressive about this. They have an idea that they know lots of things. And this is because maybe they've been going through puberty, or they still are, and their brains are growing and they feel very confident. They feel like they know a lot of things, and so they feel like they should be able to navigate stuff. Plus, we all know that young people kind of feel like they're invincible. They're daring, they try things, and it seems to work out most of the time, right? And then sometimes we feel like, no, that's actually not safe. We need to give a no answer on that, or that's not going to be wise. And then they get offended because actually they've tried lots of things, or hopefully they've tried lots of things. Really, adolescence is the time to actually try a few daring things, and that's an important part of growing up. So they've tried things, let's say, and they're wondering why now they can't have that free pass to go and do whatever it is. Maybe they think that we don't trust them with in their dating life with people of the opposite sex. We don't trust them to travel in a certain way. We don't trust them to go to a certain party where we know there's going to be drugs or something there. What they don't understand oftentimes is it's not really about us not trusting them, but that there's all these other influences around them, and that they're still learning and growing. And we know that they can be tempted to step over a line that even they didn't want to cross, just because social pressure can be so intense, and it takes a while to recognize that the social pressure is something that you can stand against and that you're actually able to do it. It takes some practice. Now, that said, they may need to have some opportunities for some practice with those things. What are some other things that they say? They say things like, "You don't understand," "You don't care," those types of things, because actually that's what they want you to do. They want you to care. They want you to understand. They actually want to feel a bond with you, even though I know sometimes it doesn't feel like that, because they're actually pulling away, it seems like. They're trying to make it so that they are not having any connection with you in order to maintain some control or an upper hand. In fact, that's something that a lot of young people will say is, "You just want to control me. You're so controlling." In fact, lots of times there's a lot of young people nowadays who are labeling their parents with all kinds of behavioral problems. And I find this very interesting as far as a trend that's happening with young people. So our young people have been through so many therapeutic interactions. Actually, sometimes it's not even all the way for their good. Sometimes, obviously, therapy is beneficial, but then sometimes it may not actually be for their good, and they start pushing these therapeutic assessments on their parents as if they could diagnose their parents with something, or tell their parents exactly what to do. So they've been empowered in a way that has pushed past the roles in the family and has overstepped their boundaries, which then makes it so they are actually more frustrated in their relationships. And that's actually oftentimes a sign that maybe whatever they are doing might not be a good fit if it's actually damaging other relationships. So what can you do? What can you say when they push back against your role, which is your identity in the family, and really in a way is kind of pushing against their identity or their role in the family too? What can you say and what can you do? So I'd like to refer to these two books. So this book here, Roles: The Secret to Family, Business, and Social Success, is a great book that is a story actually of parents and their teen-aged children and how they overcome some of that disconnect, how they have deliberate conversations with their children about their roles, about their identities in the family, and who they are to each other, and how they get themselves functioning properly again. This is a great first step to learning self-government. And after that, you see this family start to use some of the things in this book here, Parenting a House United, which is a book that teaches all about the skills of communication, how to problem solve together as a group, how to have self-mastery, self-control, calmness. Those types of things are contained in this book and some of the other trainings and courses and things that I have. When a person knows who they are and they can have deliberate conversation about it, and they can decide where are we going as a group, as a family, or in this relationship, which is talked about in this book, and how are we going to get there, that actually makes a big difference for them as far as their trajectory for success. So let's talk about what to say and what to do. If you've already subscribed to this channel, then you know that I believe in pre-teaching and preparing ahead of time for success. That's what a self-governed person does when at all possible. So I would teach my children ahead of time about the skills that we're going to use, how I'm going to correct them, when I'm going to correct them in our family, and so that they can predict that. They can know. And that means they can make their own choices with the full information, full disclosure before any decisions made. And I feel like that decreases anxiety and increases respect between parent and child. And then when the parent consistently follows through, that's another thing that increases respect. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to work on my own calmness and help them work on their calmness too. But another thing that I'm going to do is when they're struggling with something, when they want to talk to me about something, then I am going to make sure that they have calmness before we have a discussion. So I'm going to explain to them about the brain and how we need to stay in front brain to have our conversations, because this gives us the most ability to think. When we get to midbrain, we have maybe 40% ability to think and problem solve. When we get all the way to back brain, we have maybe 10% ability to solve problems. And so we want to make sure we're in front brain before we start problem solving, which means I'm always going to say the same cue phrase to them. Let's say they're like, well, you don't understand about this, or you don't care. Then I'm going to say, it seems to me that you want to tell me about fill in the blank. In this case, I would say that you want to tell me about how you feel I don't care. And I want to talk to you about that, because that's an important conversation, but we need to choose to be calm first, then we can talk about it. So the first step is calmness, then we're going to talk about caring. But the one thing that you can do is make sure that you always tell your teen ahead of time that you want to know what they have to say, that you're hoping to know what they have to say, and also to let them know that you have heard them. So they're saying you don't care. So you say, I know that you think I don't care. I know you want to talk about me not caring, but we need to get to calm first, then we will talk about it. So you don't make the mistake of telling them how much you care right then, because then you're just going to be going back and forth on a power struggle. Instead, you say, let's get to calm, then let's talk about what your concerns are, because I think they're probably valid concerns, or I believe that you feel that I don't care right now. That type of a statement is really powerful for them. You make that statement and then help them get to calmness. Now, how are you going to help them to get the calmness? That's where a lot of the teaching self-government skills and principles come in. And I would like to help you with that. I have a Calm Parenting Toolkit that has 10 tools for calmness on my website, which is teachingselfgovernment.com. And you can click to it below in the description. If you go to that website right now, you can have that Calm Parenting Toolkit for free. And it's a little mini course. It's not my full program, but it's the first step. Let's first get to calmness and work on that and be able to analyze that. So if you and your teen can both become calm, then you can start to take steps to have even more understanding. The Calm Parenting Toolkit is a great start for you. Click on the link to that and we will build from there.